Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on which part of the world you're in. My name is Joshua Hawley. I'm reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, with translations and purports by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, starting with text number 32 from the second chapter, which is entitled Divinity and Divine Service. I start with the invocation, some mantras from the Bhagavatam itself, and then read the slokas, as they're known, verses. Sanskrit word is slokas. Recite those 3 times. Read the English translation, English transliteration, word to word, Sanskrit to English translation of the verse, and then purport. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Cheva Narottamam Devyam Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayat Nastaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Shrinavatam Sukata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanaha Hridyanta Stoya Bharani Vidunoti Saritsatam. This is text number 32. Jata Yavahito Vanir Darush Veka Swayonishu Naneva Bhati Vishvatma Bhuteshu Cha Tatapuman Jita Yavahito Vanir Darushveka Swayonishu Naneva Bhati Vishvatma Bhuteshu Cha Tatapuman Jita Yavahito Vanir Darushveka Swayonishu Naneva Bhati Vishvatma Bhuteshu Cha Tatapuman Jita Yavahito Vanir Darushveka Swayonishu Naneva Bhati Vishvatma Bhuteshu Cha Tatapuman. Jita, as much as, he, exactly like, avahitaha, surcharged with, vanihi, fire, darushu, in wood, ekaha, one, swayonishu, the source of manifestation, nana eva, like different entities, bhati, illuminates, Vishwa Atma, the Lord is Paramatma, Bhuteshu, in the living entities, Cha, and Tata, in the same way, Puman, the absolute person. Translation. The Lord is Supersoul, pervades all things, just as fire permeates wood, and so he appears to be of many varieties, though he is the absolute one without a second. Purport. Lord Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by one of his plenary parts, expands himself all over the material world, and his existence can be perceived even within the atomic energy. Matter, antimatter, proton, neutron, in all these, one can perceive the manifestations of the Paramatma feature of the Lord by proper spiritual culture. As from wood, fire can be manifested, or as butter can be churned out of milk, so also the presence of the Lord as Paramatma can be felt by the process of legitimate hearing and chanting of the transcendental subjects, which are especially treated in the Vedic literatures like the Upanishads and Vedanta. Srimad Bhagavatam is the bona fide explanation of these Vedic literatures. The Lord can be realized through the oral reception of the transcendental message, and that is the only way to experience the transcendental subject. As fire is kindled from wood by another fire, the divine consciousness of man can similarly be kindled by another divine grace. His divine grace, the spiritual master, can kindle the spiritual fire from the wood-like living entity by imparting proper spiritual messages injected through the receptive ear. Therefore, one is required to approach the proper spiritual master with receptive ears only, and thus divine existence is gradually realized. The difference between animality and humanity lies in this process only. A human being can hear properly, whereas an animal cannot. Text 33. Asal Gunamayer Bhaver Bhuta Sukshmendriyatmabihi Swan Nirmiteshu Nirvishto Bhunte Bhuteshu Tat Gunan Asal Gunamayer Bhaver Bhuta Sukshmendriyatmabihi Swan Nirmiteshu Nirvishto Bhunte Bhuteshu Tat Gunan Asal Gunamayer Bhavir Bhuta Sukshmendriyatmabihi Swanirmiteshu Nirvishto Bhunte Bhuteshu Tat Gunan Asal, that Paramatma, Gunamaya, influenced by the modes of nature. Bhavai, naturally. Bhuta, created. Shukshma, subtle. Indriya, senses. Atmabihi, by the living entity. Swanirmiteshu, in his own creation. Nirvishtaha, entering. Bhunte, causes to enjoy. Bhuteshu, in the living entities. Tatgunan, those modes of nature. Translation. The Supersoul enters into the bodies of the created beings who are influenced by the modes of material nature and causes them to enjoy the effects of these modes by the subtle mind. Purport. There are 8,400,000 species of living beings, beginning from the highest intellectual being Brahma down to the insignificant ant, and all of them are enjoying the material world according to the desires of the subtle mind and gross material body. The gross material body is based on the conditions of the subtle mind, and the senses are created according to the desire of the living being. The Lord, as Paramatma, helps the living being to get material happiness because the living being is helpless in all respects in obtaining what he desires. He proposes and the Lord disposes. In another sense, the living beings are part and parcels of the Lord. They are therefore one with the Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita, the living beings in all varieties of bodies have been claimed by the Lord as his sons. The sufferings and enjoyments of the sons are indirectly the sufferings and enjoyments of the Father. Still, the Father is not in any way affected directly by the suffering and enjoyment of the sons. He is so kind that he constantly remains with the living being as Paramatma and always tries to convert the living being towards the real happiness. Text number 34. Bhavayat yesha sattvena lokan vai lokabhavanaha Liva avatara nurato deva tiryan naradishu Vavayati esha sattvena lokan vai lokabhavanaha Liva avatara nurato deva tiryan naradishu Vavayati esha sattvena lokan vai lokabhavanaha Lila avatara Nurato Devatiryan Naradishu Bhavayati maintains Eshaha, all these, Sattvena, in the mode of goodness. Lokan, all over the universe. Vai, generally. Lokabhavanaha, the master of all the universes. Leela, pastimes. Avatara, incarnation. Anurataha, assuming the role. Deva, the demigods. Tiryak, lower animals. Nara Adishu, in the midst of human beings. Translation. Thus the Lord of the universes maintains all planets inhabited by demigods, men, and lower animals. Assuming the role of incarnations, he performs pastimes to reclaim those in the mode of pure goodness. Purport. There are innumerable material universes, and in each and every universe there are innumerable planets inhabited by different grades of living entities in different modes of nature. The Lord Vishnu incarnates himself in each and every one of them and in each and every type of living society. He manifests his transcendental pastimes amongst them just to create the desire to go back to Godhead. The Lord does not change his original transcendental position, but he appears to be differently manifested according to the particular time, circumstances, and society. Sometimes he incarnates himself or empowers a suitable living being to act for him. But in either case, the purpose is the same. The Lord wants the suffering living beings to go back home, back to Godhead. The happiness which the living beings are hankering for is not to be found within any corner of the innumerable universes and material planets. The eternal happiness which the living being wants is obtainable in the kingdom of God, but the forgetful living beings under the influence of the material modes have no information of the kingdom of God. The Lord therefore comes to propagate the message of the kingdom of God, either personally, as an incarnation, or through his bona fide representative, as the good Son of God. Such incarnations or sons of God are not making propaganda for going back to Godhead only within the human society. Their work is also going on in all types of societies amongst demigods and those other than human beings. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purports of the first canto, second chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Divinity and Divine Service. Thank you very much.